Gentlemen, love the show. 2 questions. We'll post this on YouTube and Reddit to make sure y'all get in the queue. All right. Question 1, why does Charlamagne not get more blame for how bad the show was during the perceived alt-right Andy phase? Andrew's questions were not the driver of the circular arguments. Charlamagne's inability/unwillingness to digest and honestly answer questions caused the discussions to stagnate. Charlotte's current performances and political discussions, which y'all discuss regularly, in my opinion, are signs of a similar problem and should make us question whether Charlamagne should have taken more blame for BI's issues during the period of time. You want to read the second one now?
No, we'll stay on this one. So when I read that,
it's interesting.
It's very interesting. And to be fair, that time period, I was such a Charlamagne fan. Even if he was doing that, I couldn't have noticed it probably.
The bias was there.
My bias was too lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? I was still like, I don't even know if I like Schulz yet type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was still trying to figure out if I fuck with Schulz, even though I was watching every week.
Nah, that's a fact.
But it was like Charlamagne and Chris, they were so good. I mean, Chris is always good in the book, but Charlamagne, I probably didn't notice goofy shit like that. Like, it did make me want to go back and kind of go back a couple episodes pre and post to be like, oh, maybe he was, you know, like, now that I'm looking at things more objectively, because he might have been fucking annoying.
I think Charlamagne probably played a part, but the problem was, I was about to call this nigga Andy. Andrew, that performance was leaking over onto the guests too. At least when somebody else would come in, if Charlamagne was doing it to show, so like, all right, that's kind of their chemistry. But if you doing it to just a random bystander in here,
you're making our people not. You're making my home, because a lot of the times they were Charlamagne's homies.
Yeah,
they weren't
home girls
or home girls, and it's like, bruh,
it's just a bad look.
Nobody I introduced you to is fucking with you recently, bro. It's like, we have to stop something. So
I think somebody kept like, I remember he was saying on the pod one day that somebody kept hitting him up about Andrew. They was like, yo, like, your dude, you really on some woo-woo.
Oh, yeah, because if your guest
not violence, but
I know what you mean, but just on
not
some,
everybody
bruh,
speaks nigga.
Get that, true. Yeah. Get that nigga under control.
And it's crazy because like the Andrew we see now is exactly what that dude was probably worried about.
Yeah, for sure. None came.
I thought, nigga,
like it was so much funnier that time because
that looked like
that
a
was
real
the
one.
realest one.
Yeah, it was
because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get the bit until the third one, and then I was like, okay, he's doing the Schulz thing, but that one was the one. All the other takes, we should do that take.
But
it's all good though.
Why does Charlamagne not get more blame?
I have been planning this for 2 days.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah,
and you see, that's what I was telling you. That's like, that was your joke. You get what I'm saying? That was your shot. The jab that comes back your way is going to be a little bit more calculated than that. That's what I was letting you know.
I didn't even.
You were just being a Schulz apologist.
Yeah, what are you talking about? I didn't even empty the clip yet. These are all. I'm still gauging. I'm still trying to figure out what.
You just finding out your distance.
I know my distances.
This is gonna be hilarious.
I know exactly what my distance is.
You're just trying to counterpunch. Like, you're so comfortable that you're just waiting for what you want.
I don't want to. You don't want to. I don't want to do that unless I know it's coming. Unless it's directed.
You're just trying to counterpunch. You ain't even trying to be aggressive.
Once it's directed, once it's directed, it's up. But I'm just.
Yeah.
You gotta let niggas know.
But yeah,
it's an off rip.
Off rip. I can take it there. You know what I'm saying?
But that is crazy how Charlamagne didn't get the flack. And he's the more professional, like in his field. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's also because he wasn't really the problem. Like he wasn't the problem, but helped the problem.
But it's easier to see the person driving the. You know what I'm saying? Charlamagne wasn't the driver of that.
Yeah,
he wasn't,
because even if he's circulating the argument or keeping it circular a little bit, like the way Schulz is doing it too. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And he's the one who's bringing that argument to the table to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Who knows? But to be fair, like that's how you felt during that time period. I can't say you're wrong for that feeling at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I could say that I couldn't judge that time period fairly back then just off my memories, but I could more now if I go back and listen to him. You know what I'm saying?
And what if he came in a Schulz fan? And that's why he was kind of able to see it from a different perspective. Like,
that could be the case.
This is my guy. Like, nigga, you never answering the questions on the podcast.
Right.
That would piss anybody off.
And then outside looking in, it's like alt-right Andy. Like, it's a whole thing. It's like a concept built around it. So it's,
But But from the
I mean,
side
shit,
that you
okay.
mentioned, Tone, from the side you mentioned, the guest side, from that side, I could see him being more of the problem. For sure.
and that's where it's really
That's
a
where it
problem.
really
because
problem.
We can handle this amongst ourselves, even though it did
Right.
become a problem. But like when you're doing it to the bystanders, this is
Yeah, it's like,
That's-
goddamn,
yeah.
bro.
now you fucking with the credibility of the show
Yeah,
in
yeah,
other
yeah,
people's eyes
yeah.
and shit. Like we can't go over there. They
My
bullshit.
homies are looking at me like, why do I fuck with you now?
Yeah.
Like,
It
this
literally
is
happened.
getting bad. Yeah.
Gotta know when to turn it off.
And question 2, what factors drove you all to consume content from No Jumper, and are those factors still present today?
The
Sounds
only
like you
reason
haven't seen the first episode of this show.
only reason I
Oh, yeah.
the first reason I started watching No Jumper was literally because they started interviewing rappers. No reason.
Which is why majority of people came.
Which is literally why a majority of people came.
And not even just rappers, it was like the specific rappers.
It
Like
was specific SoundCloud.
SoundCloud.
you're not
underground
gonna
rappers,
hear from these people anywhere
You
else
can't
on
get
a
them
credited
nowhere else.
platform.
Yeah, you can't get them nowhere else.
which is part of the problem today. Is that there's other platforms where these niggas can go, and it's like they damn sure not choosing No Jumper, especially now. Like
Mine was less of that. Mine was, so when I started like my podcast listening journey, I was so stuck in the loudspeaker orbit or sphere and stuff
yeah.
like that. And No Jumper was the first platform that I found that had everybody, that had more that I did. They had so many people that I didn't give a fuck about. I didn't know anything about, sorry, that I started giving a fuck about. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just because I could care less, honestly, about the whole SoundCloud rapper wave because I wasn't crazy for their music. Some of it was definitely fire, like Yachty came out of that, you know what I'm saying? But like in totality, I wasn't going crazy for like Suicide Boys and shit like that. But he was getting the A tracks, the cool kids. He was tapping into the blog era. He was getting like Sean from the Round 2 thrift store. You know what I mean? It was like all these people doing things that are like important in certain aspects.
in their field.
And side characters and maybe even side characters, but like crazy insight on what it was. I was like, damn, this is it for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like Joe Rogan was cool because obviously we know Joe Rogan. His was the ghetto version, the dirty ghetto version of Joe Rogan in terms of variety.
Technically, true.
In terms of variety of guest. That's why I started messing with it. Can you go back to the question again? But
Yeah,
the
I
question was,
What factors drove you, and are they still present today?
they're not present today. Because the presence today, I mean, there's only so much gang shit a nigga can consume.
It's a completely different equation today. Like the algorithm is different. Like everything is changed.
And I don't think the algorithm is as friendly for unknowns either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really interested to see what Danny's video does. Danny's not an unknown, but Danny on No Jumper, I know the conversation quality was 10 out of 10. I know it was because Adam's a good podcaster when he has somebody
Good to bounce off
that's
of.
good to podcast with. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So, but I am curious to know, because back in the day, those interviews would do numbers because the convo was good. We didn't give a fuck whether you knew them or not. Or, you know what I'm saying? So I wonder if Danny's video is going to perform well compared to somebody else because a lot of these little niggas, I never heard of them. I listen to the music. I never want to listen to that shit again. It's just too much nigga shit, bro. It's not good.
Get that ball off my lawn.
It's just, I don't like none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just these every so often, and it's like the more that the image of No Jumper looks tainted to the casual listener, the less attractive it is for interesting people to come.
True. I was never a big No Jumper guy. I started listening to No Jumper because AJ told me about it.
What year was that? Was that recent history or was it around the same time as?
That was because I was an avid Brilliant Listeners guy already, or Brilliant Idiot Listeners, excuse me. No. And that was really like one of the only ones I was tapping into a lot, and then like tax season, of course.
Literally,
you know what I'm saying? Like that was
all
like,
loudspeaker, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like tapping into those. And then he told me about No Jumper, and I knew about the SoundCloud rapper thing and stuff like that. Like, I was like, oh, this is where that's going on. And I just never grasped it, man. I don't know. It never like locked me in for real. And I did tune in when he had guests, like big guests, and he did have
Ones
like,
that you knew and
ones that I knew, and then
some.
some that I knew of but didn't know much about. But I'd click on that. You know what I'm saying? But that's really all, man. I was never like a huge No Jumper guy, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't tell you when No Jumper was also a podcast that I watched Loudspeaker and thought I could do it. I thought, oh, I might be able to do a podcast one day, but they're also in studios and stuff. But No Jumper was the ghettoest setup. And I said, oh, I can do that. Because I didn't
So
know
I
what
could put some backward guts on the table.
yeah, I didn't know what equipment to buy. I didn't even know where to begin. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, me and Lauren have been recording music, but this didn't seem as complicated as recording music. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I want to spend that much money into it in terms of buying a $200 to $500 $1,000 mic and shit. But when we would watch No Jumper in the back of the first store, I heard him say my iPhone's on the tripod, and I said, "Oh shit, I have an iPhone." And then I saw the mixer that was on the table. He used to have the mixer sitting right there on the table, and then I could kind of see that he was recording in GarageBand. And I said, "Okay, so I just need to find a mixer that looks like that on Amazon. I have the iPhone. I just need a tripod and a table."
Yeah.
And I can do
You in
this.
business.
Yep, that's it. So that's what made me, the simplicity of his podcast setup is what made me say, I can do a podcast. And that was the first setup. I mean, I was using an iPhone for been podcasting for 7 years. We used an iPhone for 5.
But so you had everything he had, just
time.
no crips.
Yeah, it's slowly gotten to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, slow as hell, honestly.
Yeah, nah.
Slow as hell.
I mean, yeah, nigga, it took us a long time.
But
Danny said he was talking to somebody and they were telling him that they wanted to do a podcast because they like ours so much. But then they were saying, I can't do what they do because their setup costs too much. And I was like, shit, I guess. I mean, and I said, bro, in our shit, we still got couch covers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't. How much money do they have?
I mean,
I don't know, but like, to be fair, the first setup that we had, that
as
cost me like $300. That was
And
like
that was with you trying to be cheap with certain shit and things. And,
yeah, that was me. I bought a wide angle lens for the iPhone clip. I had the iPhone, and then I upgraded my phone for the camera. Bruh, it was cheap.
it was
I about to say
I got it
$300. It's
back then. Though,
$300 is nothing.
It's not too bad.
That's nothing.
The bulk of the money in the studio back then was just on music shit.
nigga, we
It was
spent
all music.
Yeah,
that mixer the audio interface that we had, we spent like $500-600 on that.
on just that.
Nope. Yeah, I didn't even do that. The
We,
one that I had was $150, I think.
And we didn't get that until like maybe a year or two in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We a little bit over 1,000 in the whole.
And
right?
then we bought the Sunny, that Sunny ZV1. Yeah, fuck that, but
That's 1,000. Yeah, right there.
nigga,
Yeah.
that's 1,000.
I mean, at this
Yeah.
point, we are a lot of thousands.
Yeah, niggas a lot of
Yeah, we're
thousands.
tens of thousands
we're
deep.
tens of
Yeah.
Shit,
thousands
we've combined all our thousands together.
Yeah, we
That's what you see here. That's
bro.
There's a lot of
and
thousands.
that's what they don't even realize.
Yeah,
nigga.
yeah.
We have combined all resources
yeah,
into this
yeah.
garage.
fucking tripod.
Nigga, literally.
I
tell you
forgot
what.
that was ours.
Yeah, nigga, that's
Yeah,
it.
nigga.
Yo, that tripod.
Yeah, we bought that tripod. That's another $300.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
That's
You remember we bought
we
that
split
shit?
that shit $150.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, nah, it's a lot
So
of.
I see what he means when he says that setup is expensive. You
Bro,
right.
there's a lot of thousands in here.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of
Which
thousands
is
in here.
why when the dude came on office hours and was like, "Hey, podcast, want to do this shit, whatever," I'm like, "Hey, bro,"
because it wasn't
No,
all got
it
at the
I'm like,
wasn't.
"Hey,
same
nigga,"
time.
I'm like,
wasn't
"Hey,
this.
nigga." I'm
No,
like,
we
"Hey,
didn't
nigga."
spend $2,000.
There's a
at
lot
the
of
same
money
time.
invested in here if you don't really want to do this.
I still started for 300.
Yeah, it's not a lot to get.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And you can always take the equipment back. But
Yeah, yeah.
Did,
Not a lot to get going.